Hello, everyone. We'll just give one more minute until everyone gets situated and logged in. We'll begin. My name is Bill Guzik. I'm manager of alumni engagement at Chapman. And just for all the parents that are in our virtual audience, I want to make sure that you're in the right room. This is there's no place like Chapman University support for alumni. So with that, I want to see all our participation numbers go up. I don't want to see anybody leaving this room. But as manager of alumni engagement, our office of how we work and interact with our alumni is actually very small. We're represented by Andy Doddridge, who is our director, myself as manager, Olivia Quitney, who's our coordinator for alumni engagement, and Joy Flynn, who manages all of our support groups. We work in a pretty unique place. It's called the Elliott Alumni House. It's an old Victorian building. And if any of you have been near campus, we're just a couple blocks away from the main campus. We're located between the filling station restaurant and the train station. So when we are working there, we're all remote now, but when we're working there, it really is a nice building. It's a great place to work. And I really encourage your students for them to stop by and introduce themselves. Chapman has over 50,000 alumni. North Dakota was one of the holdouts, but I think we're in all 50 states now. And we have alumni chapters that we just started this year in Orange County, Los Angeles, San Diego, the Bay Area, Seattle, and Hawaii. We also have alumni associations representing our campus affinity groups, including the Black Alumni Association, First Generation Alumni, that's students where they were the very first person in their family to have gone to college. So we have the First Generation Alumni Association, and we have a burgeoning Hispanic Alumni Association. In order for us to kind of grasp how we work with 50,000 alumni, we break it into three different groups. One is called the Young Alumni Society, and that's for any alumni that are about right from they graduate to about 10 years out. So in ages, that's about 22 to age 32. And these alums, they are looking for their first job. They're keen into networking. They still want to see their friends, so they're very social. And they're moving around. They're hopping around to different cities, landing wherever they can for their first job. The second group that we look at as a bulk is called the PAC, and that's about ages 33 to 71. And so the PAC, they're a little bit more established in their jobs. They're mentoring people. Some are starting families. Some are started families and are now re-entering the workforce. So they're needing help with career and finding changes in the workforce. And then some of the PAC members are retiring. Our last group is called the 50-Year Club, and that's ages 72 and over. For the most part, those folks are retired, and they're really looking for connections back to the university and connecting with friends that they haven't seen for a long time. And they're some of our biggest supporters at the university. What we try to do is really find ways to bring our alumni back to campus when we're in person. We find ways, whatever ways we can, to connect alumni with each other throughout the year and virtually. And speaking of virtually, this is kind of everything with COVID. This has afforded us a great opportunity to connect with alumni all across the country. Whereas before, a lot of our events were very focused in Orange County at the main campus. But now we can connect with people as far away as Hawaii on a regular basis, and Seattle, and even folks on the East Coast. We can't do this in a vacuum. We don't work alone. We really do work with some stellar volunteers. And I'm excited to present today some of our most dedicated alumni volunteers, representing many different segments of our alumni body. I'm going to be introducing each one separately, but as a whole, we have Aaron Fluellen today, who's president of our Alumni Association, Alex Garrett and Lauren Birch, who represent our Young Alumni Society, Adam Coffrin, who represents our Chapman 50, like a business alumni group, Steve Uasugi, who represents our regional alumni Hawaii chapter, and Dr. Bill Comerford, who represents our 50-year club. So today, each of our alumni will share a little bit about themselves and then go into greater detail and give you a snapshot about the alumni group that they represent. Lastly, to everyone in the audience and our parents here, please, please, please submit your questions throughout this presentation. At the end, Olivia Quitney from our office is going to field all those questions to our panel, and then we'll try to get through as many as we can. So let's get this started. I'd like to first introduce Aaron Fluellen, who's president of our Alumni Association. Take it, Aaron.
Thank you, Bill, and thanks for including me on this with the Parent Spring Summit. As Bill mentioned, my name is Aaron Fluellen. I graduated in 2004 from Chapman. I was a business major, and I also met my wife at Chapman. She graduated in 2005, so we are Chapman sweethearts, which, as Bill mentioned, there's a lot of different kind of affinity groups within the university, and that is a large one. There are quite a few alumni who have met their significant others while at Chapman. If you ever get a chance, go on the Alumni Association Facebook page, and I think there's a whole album of wedding photos that people have submitted, so it's pretty cool. I'm going to share real quick a file, tell you a little bit more about the Alumni Association Board of Directors. So kind of the mission and the goal of the Board of Directors is to support a document called the Chapman Alumni Compact. This is a document that was developed with the university and the Alumni Board about a decade ago. And it really is an agreement by the university on the connection that they're going to have with alumni. And through that compact, Chapman pledges to maintain a lifelong connection with their alumni group, to give alumni a voice in critical institutional matters, engage alumni in all facets of university life, give alumni the means to really connect and form bonds with each other, put on programs that correspond with alumni interests and needs, and kind of what I think is most important, welcome them back through various avenues such as homecoming or different events, networking events, those sorts of things, and celebrate their return home. The Alumni Board is made up of 25 members. We serve 3-year terms. You can serve up to 2 terms, and we represent over 55,000 Chapman alumni that are spread out throughout the country and the world. So, you know, we are trying to build a board that is representative of those 55,000 people. So as Bill mentioned, you know, you kind of break up the alumni population into groups, both by, you know, when they graduated, their age, but also what their majors were, what school they were a part of, what industries they work in now. So we can try and build a board that is representative of that 50,000 alumni constituency and be a voice for them. One thing, Bill did mention this, but I was going to bring up, the alumni have a home on campus. It's called the Elliott Alumni House. It was helped to be paid for by some very generous alumni who are pictured here, Tom and Pat Elliott. Pat is a emeritus member of our alumni board and a past alumni board president. And this is the actual working office for Bill and Olivia and Andy and the alumni engagement team. And it also serves as a place for alumni meetings and events and programs when we're not, all socially distant. It's a fun place to get together, and alumni can really just stop in there at any time. If you have a student that becomes an alum, encourage them to swing by. They can update their contact information, and there's always some good swag at the alumni house. Speaking of that, it kind of is one of the biggest challenges for what we do, and this is a good group to talk to, because as we have new alumni, that is one of the hardest things for us to do, is maintain their contact information. So we are constantly doing alumni communications and events, and this is sort of the areas that we work in. We do, in the alumni, the school produces alumni newsletters and magazines and online content. And then when we can, we welcome alumni back through social events such as homecoming. Those are just a little plug. Those are my boys there at Chapman's playoff football game last year. Chapman won the conference, which was the first time they had done that in a number of years. So we went and cheered them on. We also help plan networking and engagement events. So this could be things like networking roundtables, industry-specific events. This is a photo from one of our biggest events every year, which is an entertainment industry mixer at Lionsgate in Los Angeles. And it's hosted by a former alumni board president, Akin Ceylan, who is the COO at Lionsgate. And then we do career and professional development. Much of this is done through their Career Development Center. We also support that. This is a networking roundtable, and you can see him right there in the screen, being led by Adam Coffrin, who's now the chair of Chapman 50. He does an amazing job leading those and help alumni to network together. So that's kind of a rundown of what the board does, and I'll turn it back over to Bill, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. And now I'd like to introduce Alex Garrett and Lauren Birch, who are representing our Young Alumni Society.
Hello, my name is Alex Garrett. I'm the president of the Young Alumni Society. I came to Chapman University in 2011 as a vocal performance major. I went to Chapman to sing opera. It's a tough market out there for opera singers right now, so I decided to change my major to business. A little more realistic. So was a business major for 3 years, graduated in 2015. I actually got my first job from a professor of mine through Chapman I was a recommendation. So got my first job in sales, in B2B sales, and it's been fantastic. Recently, we started the Young Alumni Society. So before the Young Alumni Society, there was already a vibrant young alumni experience coming from Chapman. But we decided to kind of give it 4 walls and give it a brand, and just organize it a little bit. So the Young Alumni Society is basically a group where people can grow professionally and socially. We try to grow our members through 3 buckets, basically professional networking, social networking, and mentorship. There's a lot more information about the Young Alumni Society and what we do for our members. Unfortunately, because of the year that the country and the world went through, we had to scale back some of our in-person events, but we used to have things like mimosa brunches and summer bashes and all kinds of fun things, but we're now pivoting towards virtual everything. So that's a little sneak peek of the Young Alumni Society and myself. Lauren here is a vice president of the Young Alumni Society, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Birch. As Alex said, I am a part of the Young Alumni Society board. Obviously, I'm a Chapman alum. I am quite a recent alum. I graduated in 2019, so not too long ago. It feels like just yesterday. I grew up in Washington, moved out to SoCal for college, and just couldn't leave. So I'm still actually working at Chapman. I work in the Office of Admission as an admission counselor, so bringing in the next class of Chapman Panthers, which is super exciting. I was super involved as a student, and as soon as I graduated, I wanted to find a way to stay even more connected connected to Chapman. So I joined the board. It's been really exciting seeing it grow. I actually haven't been able to go to any in-person alumni events due to the year that I graduated. So it's been really interesting working on virtual events and going to Zoom meetings and seeing what's going to happen next. But I oversee and I'm helping grow the mentorship program. So we actually partner alumni that are part of the Young Alumni Society with older alums or even other young alums that have more industry experience. So we are definitely building that up. So since you're a parent, definitely let your students know that as soon as they graduate, they should definitely look into the Young Alumni Society. But that's all I have. I'll hand it back to Bill.
Wonderful. I love both your energy, so that's fantastic. Next, I want to introduce Adam Coffrin, who represents our Chapman 50. And so, Adam, tell us a little bit about yourself and all about Chapman 50.
Yeah, awesome. It's so great to be here. I'm so used to sitting on a director's chair in front of everybody, so this is a little different. But my name's Adam Coffrin. I'm a graduate, undergrad of 2004 with degrees in political science from Wilkinson. I went back for more punishment in 2008. I graduated in 2010 with a master's degree in organizational leadership, also from Chapman. My role outside of Chapman, I'm the president of a company called Safe Kids, Inc. We create safety curriculum for K-12 schools. We're a Think Chapman First organization. Was featured recently in the City University for being a employer of Chapman alumni. So as you can tell by my shirt, I'm Chapman through and through. Former member of the alumni board as well, served with Aaron for a great many of years, and just really, Chapman has been a home for me regardless of where I've been in my career or where I've been located and living throughout Southern California. So Chapman 50, we're kind of a unique group. It's 50 alumni, and it's kind of curated around our principles of lead, innovate, and serve. So they're primarily business folks, not all of them. We have everything from Emmy award-winning producers to artists to business owners, executives, and we wanted to essentially find a way. How can a group of alumni leaders get closer connected to the university to bring some of our influence and some of our experiences in the business world and interconnect them with alumni and with the university, but also help those students? So part of Chapman 50 is we have Chapman 50 Scholars. So part of our mission is fundraising, both by donations and our connections within the business community to create a scholarship pool for students to be Chapman 50 Scholars, to help students come through the university, as I'm sure many of your students, just like myself, and I think many of us on this call, were recipients of scholarships to help us, in our days at Chapman. The other part of that is mentorship. We just recently partnered with the Young Alumni Society with Lauren and Alex, and all of our Chapman 50 members are essentially mentors to some of not only the young alumni who have obviously now graduated, but also students still in and working their way through their degree programs. So it's really alumni mentoring alumni, and showing some of the ways in which we can kind of help not only grow the alumni base, but really give, especially your kids, the kickstart sometimes that they need or the experience that they need, whether it's landing their first job, giving experience in their first job. We work a lot with Joe Bandy's team and career and professional development, everything from mock interviews to our business and career fairs. So we really at Chapman 50 try to get connected as much as we can using a lot of our experience with students and mentoring. And then within the group themselves, we love to network. So usually in non-COVID times, we have about 4 or 5 events throughout the year where we host networking events for other business individuals or other people in the community along with the university, and try to find more and more connections to Think Chapman First. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about Chapman 50. And I'm going to hand it back over to Bill.
Adam, you're talking about Think Chapman First. Just explain in detail what that means as an alum, what it means as a student, as an employer. Just kind of, if you can go into that a little bit.
You bet. So Think Chapman First was really an initiative that was, I kind of want to say, was birthed out of the alumni board. And it was the thought process at that time for a career. How can we get employers? How can we get alumni? How can we get everyone thinking Chapman when it relates to mentorship, internships, employment? How can we make the university kind of that one-stop shop, essentially, to find really well-qualified alumni? and that's now has essentially grown to what it is today. But what it is as an employer, I want to think Chapman first when I'm hiring. So instead of maybe throwing a wide net out, hey, we're hiring and let's get a bunch of applications, I go right to the university and say, hey, we're hiring for this position. I'd love to hire Chapman alumni for this. How do we go about doing that? So as an employer, that's what it means. As an employee or even as an alumni, it's going to your employer saying, hey, Chapman has these great, an entire, 55,000 worth of employees that are highly qualified, highly skilled, most of which are really experienced, or even some of the new students that are just now graduating have such a breadth of experience from their time at the university, and to encourage employers and also their friends to come to Chapman to be hired, to look at that place to get hired. And that's even outside of employment into your philanthropic dollars. Looking at, hey, if I'm going to, maybe donate $15 this year to a charitable organization, I should think Chapman first. Let's put it back in the university. So it's kind of a mindset of always thinking about Chapman in ways in which either we can help or we can expand, whether it's from our philanthropic dollars to our mentorships, our internships, and to our employment opportunities.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. And I think for many of us, we're jealous of the next person I'm going to be introducing. And Steve, I want you to talk about, you have a very boring background right now, but it wasn't going to be right before we started. I want to introduce Steve Uesugi, who represents and heads up our Hawaii Alumni Regional Chapter.
Aloha, everybody. Welcome. It's, Bill's right. I actually set up outside today. It's really horrible weather. It's about 80 degrees. It's about 2 clouds in the sky, really blue. But, the wind was so awesome. It was like 15-mile-per-hour trade winds. So I was worried it would interfere with my mic. So I chose to just do inside. So I apologize for the background, but I will be enjoying that in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So thanks, Bill. Similar to some of the people that you've heard talk today, I am a Sweetheart alum. I married a Hawaiian girl, did not read my marriage contract well enough because I am from Southern California. And at the bottom of my marriage contract, it says, if you marry a Hawaiian woman, you will move back to Hawaii. So I moved back to Hawaii about maybe 7-8 years ago, and it's been absolutely horrible. Beautiful weather, beautiful people, beautiful food. But in doing so, I lost a little bit of my connection with school. I graduated in 1995. My wife, who graduated in 94, we are Sweetheart alums, didn't have that chance to reach out and do all the wonderful Chapman stuff that we were used to doing. And so I worked with Bill, and we were able to work on starting the alumni chapter in Hawaii. So give everyone that piece of love that they missed from school, and to be able to share those memories that they really wanted. I am a legacy alum in addition to a Sweetheart alum. My parents also went to Chapman. Was not my 100% deciding factor in going to school there. I thought because I lived close to school that I could live at home and, just go to school on the fly. And when I told my parents I got into Chapman, my dad says to me, I don't care what happens, you're not living at home. So that was where I had to be. But living at school actually gave me one of the greatest experiences of my life. I did music like Alex, probably not to the degree that Alex did, but also did business. But it changed my life. Going to Chapman made me a better person. And in general, Chapman helped me grow up. And so in being able to form all of those friends and form all of those key relationships with people like Bill, I was able to really have a wonderful life. And I want to make sure that students that are graduating, alumni that are wanting to reconnect, have that chance to also have that wonderful experience. Working with Bill, it's been really amazing. We've had some wonderful group happy hours, the Chapman happy hours, also known as Chappy hours. And to be able to meet and mix with people and talk with people and hear their wonderful stories Bill will remember we had a great event before COVID. We were able to have alumni and current students and faculty and everyone together in Hawaii to not only meet and greet, but hear people's stories and also do a little mentoring of students that were still at school, as well as alumni together. So it's been a really, really fun experience due to our current situation. It's been a little bit tougher, but we're very fortunate to have a lot of potential in Hawaii to make our alumni grow. We've done some fun things for summer. I know Bill loves to focus on welcome receptions, so he does pull together alumni so that when there's students for welcome receptions, we're able to pull those together and do some fun stuff there. And I know that even though we would love to get together in closeness together now, we can't. But there's been stay-at-home homecoming events, which have been really fun, and that goes on all over the United States. Here in Hawaii, even though things haven't been perfect, we're actually having a possible chance of getting released to 10-person gatherings this week. So we find out this week if we can have 10-person gatherings, which Bill is hoping for sure, so that we can get together. But for us, the big thing in Hawaii is community. It is family, and because Chapman is part of my family, I'm really looking forward to making that grow here in Hawaii.
Aloha, and thank you, Steve. That's great. And the last person I want to introduce is Dr. Bill Comerford, who represents our 50-year club. And Bill is one of our best volunteers. You ask him anything, it's just yes. He barely even has time to think about it. It just yes comes on, and that's wonderful. Bill, take it.
Yeah, can you guys hear me out there okay? Okay, great. I just want to make sure the sound is right. Yeah, I graduated from Chapman in the 60s. That's the 1960s, by the way. I always point that out because the school goes back to the 1860s, and I want to be clear about that. So I got my undergraduate degree in history in the 60s, and then went on. I was in the Army for a while, got my PhD in Texas, finally came back. And just by happenstance, I got a part-time position here, and they liked what I did, so they put me on full-time. And that was about 26 years ago, almost 26 years now. I've taught overall now. I was figuring this out the other day when I submitted a new course proposal. I've taught 27 courses, different courses at Chapman. So I'm about one course a year is what I manage to do most of the time. And that's just not a repetitive course. That means a new class or a revised syllabus, a no class. So I like that opportunity because it gets me out there mixing with all kinds of majors and minors and so forth, not just the history department graduate students, or I should say undergraduate students. Now, the 50-year club, a couple of decades ago, I got involved in being the grand marshal at commencement for people who came back in 50 years and wanted to reestablish a connection or continue one with the university. And that was really great because you meet these people, and at that time I wasn't eligible for 50 years. Believe me, now I am eligible and have been for some time. And so that's how I kind of got involved with the alumni program. And then the club started sometime after that. We started really regularizing, bringing people back for especially important events and special events. And this has really been critical at Chapman, and I think it's almost compelled us to do certain things that other institutions probably would not do or not feel pressed to do. And that's because the school has changed so massively in over a period just since I've been here. I started working full-time in '95, and most of the changes that have taken place in the 160 years of the institution have taken place in the time that I've been here teaching. That's what a great kind of transformation we're looking at here. And why that's important and why I bring that up is because sometimes older graduates, don't come back and they visit and they don't see the same institution because it's not the same in many ways. In some ways it is, and I'll get to that in a moment. But they come back and everything's different, new buildings, new classrooms, all of this. They're very impressed with it for sure. but at the same time, it's not the school they really attended. And so the 50-year club has been instrumental, in pulling 50-year plus people back here, making special events for them, getting feedback for them. And that's where the Leadership Council comes in, because the Leadership Council in the 50-year group is trying to constantly solicit feedback and to make new contacts. And of course, in this age we live in, with so much instantaneous communication, some of these older folks, are not really, and I'm one of them, by the way, who are pretty much Luddites and don't keep up with everything all the time. It's important that the Alumni House makes every effort to contact everybody in whatever form might be the best. So the 50-year club is something that really is a vital part of this, because it's so important to connect the traditions of a university. Universities, in some ways, although politicians will say otherwise, they say it's a hotbed of liberalism and radicalism and all this. They're some of the most conservative institutions in the world when you think about it, because we honor our traditional ways of doing things. And it's so wonderful to see people in the 50-year club return and come back and make connections with our recent graduates. And one of the ways this happens is through our traditional emphasis here. For instance, the opening convocation, it takes place usually in late August. Hasn't been this year, of course, obviously, but we're there. The alumni director, Aaron, in this case, would be the person who gets up there and tells the incoming freshmen, look, this is the institution that you're going to be associated with. You need to maintain a constant contact, a constant association. You need to take advantage of the opportunities that Adam talked about a moment ago, for example, of networking, of having professional, connections with people out there, which we can do at this institution because we're not so huge, we're not so large, we're not like the UC system or the Cal State system, where we don't really know people all that well. And I would say with the Alumni House, it's very important there because it integrates these things, and it makes those connections. So that's one thing, the opening convocation, where we invite the freshmen, as soon as they step foot on campus, to be a part of us. The other thing is, and I think it's one of the most emotional things, and I think you guys out there will agree with me, Alex and Lauren, Adam, all of you, Aaron, when we have the candlelight ceremony, at the end of orientation week. And it's one of the most moving things. I think it's the most moving thing we do at this particular institution, because obviously at some point when the parents bring their kids back, and spend a few days with us here, they're usually on a Wednesday. They've been settling in the dorms. They've been getting their programs. There's special programs that the Alumni House and other people on the campus give to the parents themselves. And then, of course, there comes that inevitable Wednesday evening when there has to be a separation. That the umbilical cord finally has to be severed, right? And and that's the last ceremony. That's the last, gathering of parents and freshmen. And we have this very emotional thing where we light each other's candles. The parents light the candles. I'm going to start crying here in a minute. It's really great. And it's the last few times we've done this, it just took my breath away. And then, basically we tell, okay, mom and dad, go home. We've got them now. You're going to be okay. You've entrusted your treasure to us, and we'll take care of them. So this is a really important Chapman tradition, and it's very emotionally impactful, and it really, I think, makes us all feel like much more like a family. At homecoming, we have special events for those who have graduated 50 years or more earlier. They come back, and once again, they have an opportunity. And the opportunity here is to, and my job has been largely to reassure that the 50-year people, when they come back here, or any older alum really, knows that even though the school has changed physically, we still have the spirit, the orientation. We do this too during the candlelighting event. We go through a history of the institution, how we've changed, but how we have not changed as well is really central to who we are. And we're still a family. And I think that Stephen mentioned this a moment ago. The family orientation here is really central to this place. And it's really been obviously special for me. I had not planned to come back to Chapman. I just wound up here serendipitously, like almost 30 years ago, and here we are. The last thing, of course, is that at commencement, Bill wanted me to say a word or two about this. The 50-year people are there to form a line of greeting, of sending our seniors off into the world, and again, forging that inevitable connection between our recent grads, our older grads, and who we are as an institution. So I'm proud of Chapman. I'm proud of the family I have here. And I've worked with some of the people we see here on the panel today. In fact, Aaron's wife, the irrepressible Kelsey, she's just a fantastic person. She was in one of my history classes way back in the 90s. So welcome, and believe me, and I'll say to you, all you folks out there, the same thing we say, of course, at the candlelighting event. They're in good hands. Okay, Bill, back to you.
Bill, thank you so much. And questions are for the parents that are out there. Send your questions in. We have quite a few lined up, and Olivia's going to try to field them out. Take it, Olivia.
So our first question is for Steve, and that is, how many alumni are in the Hawaii Alumni chapter?
So right now, we're still forming the association. We have a small group of hardworking alumni that are here that are helping us put together events. But the amount of alumni in Hawaii is staggering. It is a huge amount. And so what we're trying to do is form a strong base on Oahu first, and then reach out to neighbor islands and eventually have multiple events on multiple islands. So we're super excited. Right now, the group is starting real small, and it's a good group of people that are really willing to help. But we're really looking forward to growing.
And for Hawaii in general, for the whole state, there's about between 400 and 500 alumni in Hawaii. Seattle has about 1,000. Orange County and Los Angeles are obviously the biggest centers, and they're just thousands. So anyway, it's Steve heads up a neat group.
Yeah, Bill, one thing I'll add, just so people know, is the idea of like a regional alumni chapter is something that's just getting off the ground. We would do regional alumni events, but putting some sort of formal infrastructure behind that is a newer initiative that, Bill, you've been heading up.
And Bill, could you add into, I got a question about how regional chapters form, and can anyone join a regional chapter?
Well, yes. Well, actually, for our alumni association, Chapman does not charge any dues. There are many universities that do charge dues in order to become a member of the association. So with Chapman, once you graduate, you're an automatic member of the Alumni Association and an automatic member of a regional, should you decide to join it. It's kind of based, like Aaron said, where this is a new process for Chapman. In the future, it's probably going to be where 1,000 minimum alumni in an area will probably be the base in order to start an alumni chapter. But all they really have to do is to contact the alumni office and say they're interested, and then we kind of work with them. We find out how many are in their area. Do they have the volunteers in order to support it? We try to do 4 events, a minimum of 4 events throughout the year. Steve mentioned one during like a stay-at-home homecoming, another event in January or February, one that would coincide with Chapman's Giving Day in the spring and in late April, and then finally another event in the summer. So each chapter is encouraged to try to have one event each quarter.
Thank you. My next question is, you all have spoken about events. Do you anticipate having in-person events again? And checking your crystal ball, how do you envision them looking?
I would hope so.
Do you want to talk about that? Maybe you could talk about the mimosa brunch and different things we've had in the past with Summer Bash and maybe the entertainment mixers.
To answer, if I could take a swing at this, to give you a hard date in which we're going to start having in-person events, I don't think that we're in the position to give that quite yet. That being said, we're very serious about opening up those events when we're able to safely. I can speak for the Young Alumni Society when I say we have virtual events that are virtual event programming for this year. But the second that we get the green light, we will start getting the group together and start getting those in-person events on the calendar.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you.
I agree. I think it's the desire of most alumni to meet in person when we're allowed to safely do that. I do think that we've been kind of given an opportunity to learn some things about how to interact with alumni that aren't in these kind of dense population centers where we have a lot of alumni. So we've learned some really good things in the last year that I'm certain we're going to move forward with us with alumni programming. But ultimately, I think when we can have homecoming on campus, we're going to have homecoming on campus as opposed to virtually. But we'll probably still include some sort of virtual component. So all those people that aren't local or can't travel can participate.
And to piggyback on that, Aaron, Bill was talking about the 50-year club luncheon, which takes place during homecoming. That is one group in particular where I think virtual programming really could be a plus for us, because for a senior to travel from back east or so, it might not be as easy. And so if they're able to do it virtually and chat with their friends and get caught up that way, it's something that I think is here to stay.
Great. Our next question is from Anna. How do alumni work with career services to help with internships and full-time jobs for students, including the business school?
Adam, you want to talk about that? I feel like you've probably
Sure.
hired all of us from Chapman.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple ways, as Aaron mentioned earlier, we have a alumni networking roundtables, which we were doing at least once every other month to once a quarter before this happened. Obviously, those have been on pause. We've done a couple of smaller virtual events. So obviously, once those get rebooted, that's a great way to do it. But really reaching out, even if you're a student or an alumni, reaching out to Jo Bandy and her team over there. They have an amazing team that connects essentially you or your student to their field of interest. So each school has someone who is embedded in that school to understand that market. What's that job market look like? What do the internships look like? There's technology that the university uses called Handshake. It's kind of like their version of LinkedIn, for lack of better terms. But where, including our company, we post internships, jobs that are open. So students can search that. So it's essentially the smorgasbord menu of all the employers who are thinking Chapman First, looking for either internships or employment. As well as students can reach out, again, it's kind of like a mini LinkedIn. They can reach out to employers who are also alumni and ask questions. We always say, if you're using LinkedIn well or other places, reach out to that preferred company and put in the search line that they're a Chapman alum. I get maybe 1 or 2 messages a month of students reaching out to me either on LinkedIn or Handshake or something, just asking simply, hey, can I talk for a few minutes? What was your pathway into this career or that career? Or what would you advise me to do in an internship? So there's a lot of ways to get connected through those official channels and also the unofficial channels. And I know that Jo and her team, as they're continuing now, they've been doing a ton of virtual events, a ton of virtual networking. I know with Chapman 50, we're looking at putting together some sort of once we can get back together, some sort of a hybrid panel of 3 or 4 Chapman 50 members with young alumni and students to answer some of these questions. So there's a lot of things that are in the works. There's still a lot of things that we can do virtually, but there's a lot of different avenues to reach out to, whether you're alumni or a student.
And Adam, I want to mention too, for alumni, the career services are free for life. That's not the case with many universities where they have access to alumni, to career and professional development services for only like a year after they graduate. Here for Chapman, it's through life. So if you're going through a midlife crisis or a mid-career change, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're 23 or 43 or 63, you can access the services for free at Alumni Engagement. Olivia, do we have time for one quick more?
I actually wanted to make a comment to that really quickly, and that is, I am assuming most parents here, their students are seniors. There is a Chapman Young Alumni web page, which is branched off of the main alumni page. That will include all resources for your student to access, for them to know about any type of young alumni programming or resources, including connecting with the Career Center. And then we have one more question, and that is, sorry, one second. The mentoring opportunities that Adam spoke about sound very exciting, and I also appreciate that it extends to alumni. How do I direct my student towards that program? I actually can answer that question. So the best way to tell your student to be involved in the mentorship program once they graduate is to go onto the Chapman Young Alumni website page. There will be a link to the Young Alumni Society webpage. Once they sign up for the Young Alumni Society, then they can also sign up to be mentored by incredible alumni like Adam and Chapman 50.
And we try to get to as many questions as we could. If you have more, feel free to email us at alumni@chapman.edu, and we'll get right back to you. Volunteers, everyone on the panel, thank you so much for participating today. For everyone in our audience, pause up. And we appreciate you, and we're looking forward to welcoming your student into the Alumni Association. Thanks so much.